All right, this is review day 3, and while I talked to you yesterday and about yesterday and the day before's review, I didn't give you any insight into what today's review is, and there are a couple of concepts, very simple concepts. We're going to talk about secants and we're going to talk about tangents. Tangents are those lines that, you know, only touch the circle at one point. So here's our circle, and then a tangent line can go straight across, but it only touches the circle at that one point. Now, the tangents that we're talking about in this section are those that just start at that point from the circle. And there are a couple of things we need to know. If you have two tangent lines and they intersect, okay, and I'm sorry that this drawing is not perfect, but if those two tangent lines intersect, then these two tangents are congruent, okay? That's a very important thing to know. And use that idea to go ahead and figure out what the answers are for x. Like they'll give you an expression here and an expression here. Let's just say 2x plus 1 and 3x minus 3, and then you'll have the whole idea there. And that'll be you'll put an equal sign in between, and you'll make this equal to this, and then you'll solve the equation. I'm not going to go through all that again, because you can always go back to the previous videos and watch on those days when you were talking about it. It explains each individual type of problem, and I work through every problem. This is just review, and I'm just showing you that these two tangent lines are congruent. The other thing you'll see are what are called secant lines, and the secant line is pardon me, this really isn't a secant line because it doesn't touch the circle in two spots, but you'll see this line coming out from the center and then a radius. Well, if you have a radius that connects to your tangent and you have another line coming from the center, now you have a right triangle. No matter what happens, this radius is going to be perpendicular to that tangent if they intersect. So you start this page with two right triangles, and you're given either all three sides, or you're given two sides and you have to figure out another. Basically, what you're using is a Pythagorean theorem to prove it. And so that's pretty self-explanatory. And I said the first two questions, it's actually the first one question because I took one of them off. You're only doing the odds today. The evens will be on your test. And last but certainly not least, you had to remember that all tangents, when they intersect, are congruent, and that's the way you solve the clock problem. So if we look at the second page of your review, now we're getting into secants and tangents. Now we're really talking about secants and tangents. I'll post the video for this momentarily, and then you'll have two separate videos that you can use on your exam. I'm not against you using any of these videos on your exam. I told you in class yesterday. So good luck with this one, and we'll move on to the next one in a second.